Hello, my name is Julio Diaz. Welcome to Guitar Memories. Today I have the pleasure to enjoy some time with my new guest, Charles Benson. Thank you, Charles, to be here and to accept this invitation to the podcast to the Guitar Memories.
You're welcome, man. It's a pleasure, man. I'm excited.
Oh, nice. I'm so glad about that. Well, Charles, talk a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay, like how long I've been playing guitar, that kind of thing.
Yes. What are you doing right now on the music? And we try to came back on your journey.
Oh, okay, for sure. Well, I'm Charles. I'm a guitar player. I'm a solo artist, local solo artist, but I still have a full band. It's called Benson. We play instrumental rock, heavy metal. Been playing guitar since 1992. Because I know you were saying you wanted to like learn all the journey. I've been playing since Christmas Day of '92. I got an acoustic for my present that year, and after just watching my dad play guitar when I was a kid, I'm like, "Yep, that's me. I got to learn how to do this thing." And at first, they're like, "Well, it's not a toy. You have to leave it in the back room. You can practice on it." Of course, I left it in my room, and they heard me playing. They're like, we'll just let them play."
Okay. Well, Charles, uh, how you start or how you decide to okay, I want to play guitar. I maybe you see some video or you listen to your father playing guitar. Talk about that.
Well, I think it was just the inspiration. My dad was always into loud, heavy metal music. So was my mom, but my dad was like this guitar player, and he still is now. But he played really loud, and he had some Gibsons and some other guitar. I can't remember all what he had, and he played out of this old Lab Series amp that he would crank to the gills. And I just remember watching him play, and I'm like, I literally said, I want to be like Daddy. Yeah, because I was like 5 at the time or 4, and he'd just crank his guitar, and me and my brother would fall asleep to him playing guitar, or you know, so that just kind of inspired me, and I just realized I that's the path. Guitar is my calling, and watching my dad play just kind of inspired me. And when I told him I want a guitar, he was very, very impressed. And of course, I was a little kid at the time. They're like, "Well, we'll tell Santa Claus to get you a guitar," AKA my parents. And my first guitar was this cheapo, crappy acoustic that barely stayed in tune, but it was mine.
Oh, that's nice. It's a nice feeling. You okay? Open your gift and
Oh
wow,
yeah.
and you feel the best, the power on your hands. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, it was amazing, and I was just like, this is cool. It wasn't like the usual toys I would get every year, like Power. Well, no, at that time it was Ninja Turtles. And but no, man, once I got the guitar, I was addicted because they told me, well, it's not a toy. Well, I don't know. Tell me now that it's not a toy.
Yes, we are obsessed with this kind of toys.
Oh yes, I'm a gear fanatic, man.
Okay, but well, when you get your first guitar, how you start to play? Your father teach you, or you went to some classes for some lessons, or
Oh, how did I start? Dad said, "There's a G chord. That's the one finger G chord." Then he says, "Here's a D chord," or I guess I'll turn my volume on. That's a G. That's the first G chord I learned, and it's only the one finger, because I think he was thinking that would hurt a 6-year-old. But like, I learned that, I learned that, and then I learned the C chord, and then eventually the big, and then E. So those are the chords he showed me. I wasn't really taught much how to play guitar though. Just here's a chord, here's a chord, here's a chord. You figure it out. And yeah, and I remember telling him, I was like, does it have to hurt when I do this? He's like, yeah, you're gonna build up calluses. I'm like, but it hurts. And he's like, just play. It'll go away. And I still got calluses to this day. We all do, all of us that play. But like, yeah, it was just, it's hard to explain, but it was just an amazing experience. Picking up the guitar for the first time, learning that first chord, really getting dedicated. And I think what really impressed my parents, so I have a little bit of ADD at times, and I struggled with seizures when I was a child. When they saw me just like latching onto it, and it just connected with me. And even at age 6 and 7 years old, I think it was 7, yeah. 7 and 8, they realized, yeah, he's going to be a guitarist. This is not just a phase. This is a for life kind of thing. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, it was an amazing experience. Words can't really describe it, but I'm glad that it's still part of my life to this day. And honestly, I will play till the good Lord takes me, until my body finally just stops. I will never retire from guitar. I will play until I drop dead.
Nice. Well, you told us about your father was your first influence about the music, yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of bands you was hearing about, you was listening?
He was jamming to a lot of old school metal. Like I remember him playing 2112 from Rush, cranking it to full max. I remember hearing like Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. I remember hearing, Ozzy records. I remember hearing just a lot of, I can't remember every single detail, but I think we heard some Metallica back then. So just the really old school 80s metal. Sabotage, Hall of the Mountain King. Dad jammed that record a lot back in the day. I remember hearing that a lot. So that just kind of influenced me, was those old 80s metals guys. I didn't latch on to the modern metal or the new metal of the 90s. I just thought it was rubbish, to be honest. Controversial opinion, but yeah, it didn't click with me. I'm from the school of like what my dad listened to. That's what influenced me. So to answer your question, he was listening to just a lot of classic metal, and it just hit.
I remember when I was kid, a lot part of rock. My dad was my influence because he was listening Pink Floyd or Chicago or Soda Stereo. Soda Stereo is a band from Argentina, and yeah, and I get some kind of influence, but I don't feel the necessity for play guitar yet. But I remember my dad turned the radio station or just played a CD album, and yeah, I remember, and he said, listen that, and that's cool. Yeah, but okay, your parents, your dad was playing guitar, and I want to be like my dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, do you remember when you have the ability or you feel ready to play or join a band when you was a teenager?
I could talk about the failed attempt of a band, which was me and a vocalist who couldn't do any kind of vocals. He was terrible. And a Casio keyboard as the drum machine, or I can talk about my first real band. Oh, gosh. Well, I actually, before I was in a metal band, I helped out with the church worship team with my youth pastor. I played acoustic or electric, but I played all the chords with him. But I don't know if that's the same thing, but it's a playing with another person. Mm-hmm. But starting a real band. First band I was in was 2001, and it was called Shortage because we had a shortage of musicians, and that's what they named it. It was me and a bass player and a drummer, but we didn't exactly have a vocalist. The irony now, because I don't have a vocalist in my current project because we don't want one. But we were a bunch of different styles. I played old school metal, but they liked grunge and punk, so we just kind of mixed those elements together, and you got Shortage. That was 2001.
Nice, nice. Oh, okay. Well, before the band, you get your first electric guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, that would the first electric guitar was 1997, and it was a Frankenstein. It had a Kramer Strat body with a Les Paul copy neck, and like a DiMarzio or Mighty Might bridge pickup, and that was the first electric I had. I don't know what happened to it. We tried to modify it and it didn't work out too well, and my dad sold it to somebody, but that guitar was cool though. It was a Stratocaster with a Les Paul neck.
Yeah, that's so rare,
But it was cool. It was ugly and it was pretty at the same time, and it had the Garbage Pail Kid stickers on the back.
yeah, try to get your guitar and try to fix for your own personality. Yeah.
My first, okay. So my second electric, which would be the one I used more often, was my PV Raptor, and that thing was practically a Strat clone. Like, they would probably get a lawsuit now if they made that particular model I had, because today's PV Raptors have a different headstock. This thing looked exactly like a Fender. Sounded like a Fender, everything. Except it didn't have the blonde neck. It had more of the rosewood neck, but it had the Fender, had the Stratocaster, the actual Fender type headstock. It had the triple single coils, and you had to put it in the middle to get it to humbuck. And it was red. It had a white pickguard. And my grandfather, Emilio Rosas, we were just visiting with him one day, and we go to a pawn shop, and he's like, I want to get Chucky a guitar. So he just buys me this Stratocaster from the pawn shop, and it's a PV Raptor, but I love that thing. It was cool.
Okay, Charles. But when you have your PVs, your LTD, and your Frankenstein, what kind of amplifiers did you use?
Well, funny story. Back in 1997, I had the most, what we called the poor man's rig. My dad set it up because we didn't have, we weren't like we have nice guitars, but we don't have a lot of money. Funny how that works. My first amplifier surprisingly sounded pretty good, but it was not your traditional amplifier. It was this cheapo 20-watt realistic 2-channel PA amplifier. It had volume and tone on both channels. It was dark and clean sounding, and then my dad bought me this DOD distortion pedal. Oh. It was called the Classic Tube. I mean, it was clearly all op amps, and then he took a stereo speaker and removed the horn so it wouldn't be fried sounding, and it had like these 2 8s or 10s in it, and I think they were Wolfers. It was real dark sounding, actually. Perfect for like Black Sabbath if you want to play sludge or doom or just that's the sound you got. It was a DOD distortion pedal through a realistic, if you remember those back in the day, through the Radio Shack amps, through 2 8s or 2 12s, and just like a stereo speaker. And that was the first amplifier setup I had, and I played on that for about a year. And then I heard like Metallica's tone at the time. I was trying to it was the late 90s. I was trying to get that crunchy scoop sound. And the second amplifier was a Fender 15-watt frontman. I earned it by raking leaves, basically. It was only like 80 or 90 bucks at the time from Mars Music. And that was cool for a little while. I still had the DoD distortion pedal, but I didn't use it a whole lot because the amp was just so gritty and crunchy. And now, thinking back, I'm like, why did you like that sound? Because when we're young, we're like, yeah, scoop the mids, make it heavy and crunchy. And I did, and that amp definitely has a very dry, crunchy sound. Although I tested that amp out in later years through like a 412, and it does sound a lot different. It's actually isn't that bad. But that was my first official guitar amp I bought, because the first thing was kind of the setup we had. But the first one I bought was that. And then my dad takes me to Guitars Mars, yeah. And I play on something called the J Station by Johnson, and it's got delays and all these amp models. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. What is this? And he gives me an RP 200 for my Christmas present in 2000 or whatever. And then I start running the amp more as a clean platform. I'm like, oh, cool. I got delay and I got these amp models and I can switch to a clean sound now. And I've got chorus. I'm like, what is all this? So I used that. And then I had a 65 watt Fender with that same pedal setup. And then I used a crate with that same pedal setup. So I used the RP 200 through solid state clean channels for about 3 or 4 years, and then I got me a Digitech GNX1, where you can like mix the amp tones together and create your own amp model. It had hyper warping technology on there, and but I started feeling like the tone was lackluster, so I got a Marshall in 2005. It sounded great, but I didn't have enough gain, so I got an overdrive pedal called the Bad Monkey. So I was starting to kind of fade from the digital for a little while, and but this was still a solid state amp, but it's a Marshall. And I used a Marshall, boosted it, and I thought it sounded pretty good, actually. And I used that for a while until the PCB started acting up. And then I eventually returned back to a bigger Digitech processor in 2007 and 8. But I still was like, I don't know, I want to try tubes. I never had tubes before. So PV Valve King was my first tube amp. And I was running through a B52 cabs. That's the cab I had for many years. It's a stock B52 cab. And then after a while, I had to sell the Valve King, and then I ended up back with a digital rig again, and I was trying to figure out, how do you make digital sound like it's a real amp? I learned all these tricks, and one of the things I realized, you can't run like the cab sims through the live cabs. Obviously, you learned that the hard way, because I didn't know much about gear back then. I learned, and I'm like, wait, you gotta turn that stuff off. So I was trying to get my processor to sound as analog as I could by listening to the sounds of real amps, watching YouTube videos, and just playing on real amps at Guitar Center, because you play with what you got. There was a period of time when I sold all my gear other than my guitars, and I just had a processor. So my stepbrother was like, let's rig you up a power amp. So I played out of a Insignia through a B52 cab with a Digitech processor as the preamp. It sounded really, really, really good, and it got really loud. And that was kind of cool. But at that time, I was coveting after the RP500. That was Digitech's newest processor, and I loved the way that thing sounded. I did eventually get that in 2013. Long story short, I've had a lot of amps. I had, what year? 2012, I had a Crate Stealth that fried, so that didn't last very long. It literally just arced. There was something going on with the transformer. I plugged it in, and it looked like lightning was striking inside the head. I'm like, whoa! Yeah. But when it worked, it sounded amazing. But that amp, unfortunately, has some demons or something, man. So I got rid of that amp, and then I switched to the Marshall VS100, which is the valve state, and that thing sounded pretty killer. I was playing it out of a Red Bear cab with Celestians at the time, and that thing sounded just amazing. Basically, if you wanted the death tone, that was the amp to play on. But once I got my RP500, I started using that Marshall less, and then it started having issues with its PC board. These old amps and soldered issues. So I did that for a while, and gosh, I've had a lot of gear. And then I've had a Rocktron Velocity in the year 2017. Used a Line 6 Pod HD. So I've gone back and forth between analog and digital, and I like digital better. For and that might sound weird to some people because they both sound great, and digital and analog are almost right there with each other these days. I love tubes, but I just don't like lugging them around. I've had, gosh, 35150s over the years, and they all were great. They all sounded good, and I've had lots of pedals over the years, like chorus delays, wahs, channel switchers, noise gates, but tube screamers. But at the end of the day, I really like just using a good processor. Done the analog thing, and I still respect the heck out of it. But I just what I prefer digital, especially with the way technology is these days. And I don't want to. I don't look back. Even now, I use a Line 6 Helix, and I use a Laney amplifier just to amplify it, and the Helix is my main sound. My tone's based on a Marshall, boosted, and there you go.
Oh, nice. That's a nice story about, you know, a you have the experience about the a lot tones, a lot possibilities, and you create your own tone. And that's so great. It's a the experience get you the tools to create your own tone. That's really good. Thank you. Okay, can we talk about your amazing SG?
Oh yeah, this is actually it's a backup SG because I don't have my Gibson on me at the moment. But the funny thing is, this is set up nicer out of the box and plays nicer, and it doesn't have a lot of the weird issues. Like I personally think Gibson's quality control is kind of going down. But this is an Epiphone inspired by Gibson, which means they make it 90% of the Gibson's actual, what is the word I'm looking for? What is that word? They make it 90% by Gibson's specs. And it's a quarter of the price. This guitar is amazing. It is amazing out of the box, honestly. No fret buzz, no weird issues. I don't know what it was. I love my actual Gibson, but it's got a lot of problems, which is a little underwhelming. It's a cool guitar. And the thing is, SGs in general have always been my dream guitar. And because I love Sabbath, and the Iommi just looks so cool with the SG, and I'm like, man, that is a nice guitar. And when my dad showed me a picture of what an SG looked like in the late '90s, I'm like, I want that. And that's the guitar I've wanted since high school. And I love the SG, but this is to answer your question a little more directly. It's an Epiphone inspired by Gibson SG Standard, is what they call this. 22 frets. It's got nice binding on it. It's got a poly finish. It's got Pro Bucker pickups, which are basically their version of the Gibson Burst Buckers. They sound warm and they have plenty of clarity. And don't know what else to say, but it's just a really nice guitar. It's got two-way volumes, tone, but I never mess with the tone. The guitars always play wide open, and this is my favorite axe at the moment. Second to my Gibson, or actually, I kind of like this better than my Gibson, to be honest. And sorry, Gibson, I'm cheating on you.
Yeah, that's amazing guitars that inspired by Gibson for years, I guess. Yeah. They are so amazing instruments, and it sounds great. The pickups are Gibson, and I the way they are build. The instruments are so close to Gibson.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. It's an Epiphone is always improving, and they've gotten so much better over the years. Yeah, and I have a few other guitars if y'all want to.
Okay. Just can you play something with the guitar? Cause I'm I'm excited about listen.
Oh, sure, sure.
Amazing. That's really really cool tone. Um, okay. You shred a lot, and some people doesn't like a Gibson or Epiphone because the neck it's too fat, and they prefer maybe Jackson or a Ibanez or a some kind of a Fender. So why you decide to keep a that kind of guitars?
It's just a matter of taste and just what hits my spirit. You know, I've always been a classic guitar guy. I think a lot of your shredders, that's the thing, they're using all the same stuff. Maybe they think that about the guys that are ultra old school, but like I think they're using a lot of the same stuff, and it's cool. But that just kind of bores me. I don't know. I mean, a lot of guys just play on the typical super shred guitar, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's that's never spoken to my heart really. That's never really been me. Not that those aren't nice guitars like those Jacksons. Like I wouldn't mind having a soloist or a dinky, but I just love the way a classic Gibson, like a Les Paul, which I have that as a guitar too. It's not here right now, but I just like the way these classic guitars look and feel, and this guitar is set up real nice, so you can glide across the fretboard on this thing. But yeah, I'm a little different from the other guys that are playing their 24 fret shred monsters, and that's cool, but that's just never been me.
Yeah, you have your own personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can play the backing track. And
Sure, this is a song called In Memory of You. It's for a friend of mine that had cancer, and it's kind of a dedication track. Also, this is one of the songs we have in the band. Benson will play this live a few months from now because the new lineup, they haven't learned this song yet, but this is one of the songs in our arsenal, and this is from my friend that died of leukemia in 2008. And I wrote this riff for her over the phone one night when she was still alive, and she loved the riff so much that I'm like, well, then it's dedicated to her. So yeah, I'll play.
nice. Nice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
No problem.
Really, really nice.
I appreciate that.
About your experience, you decide to start to teach people how play guitar. When you decide.
Honestly, I tried in 2010 to get a couple of students via Craigslist, and I got one or two students. And then they both were like, well, maybe this really isn't our thing. One of them is still my buddy. Well, one of my buddies now. That's how I met. He was my guitar student. I was trying to teach him how to play solos, but he says he doesn't feel like solos are clicking with him. And then I taught another guy who moved to Florida now. He just wanted to learn how to play just as a stress reliever. Didn't want to actually be in a band or nothing. Just wanted to play just to have the ability. And he did pretty good. Mostly played chords, and then he eventually kind of just couldn't do it anymore, and he ended up moving to Florida for a job. Yeah. So I went a lot of years without teaching, and then 2023 comes, and then my friend's sister's son, or his nephew, he starts wanting to learn how to play, and he's been my student ever since. And he learned through a school called Creative Soul, but he's like, man, they don't really give me the tools to learn. They teach me pieces of songs, and I don't feel like I'm learning any technique or proper tools. So I said, well, we're gonna learn proper technique. We're gonna learn a metronome. You're gonna learn chords, and then when I feel like you're grasping that, then we will start learning songs. And first song, first two songs, because he learned them at the same time, that he really learned and did well on was "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and "Paranoid." And now he's learning solos and solo runs, and he's sounding pretty good. And we're even having him jamming the blues backing tracks on YouTube in our lessons just to see how well he does. And then my other student, Gage, started from scratch. He didn't even know how to play a guitar at all. And his mom says he wants to be a jazz musician. I'm like, okay, we got a long road ahead. And he went from like barely being able to pluck a chord to now he can play pentatonic minor with lots of clarity, and he can play like the modes. I gave him a mode exercise in G major, and he can play all of that at a pretty decent pace. He's been playing for, about a little over a year and a half, and he's understanding things really well. Then my newest student, Aaron, he's our age, and he mostly wants me to teach him music theory, so we're focusing more on theory. So, yeah, so I have 3 students at the moment, and I teach them every other weekend.
No, really, really nice. We can see another guitar.
Sure.
Okay, Charles, can you talk about that beautiful guitar?
Sure, and this is one of the actual Super Shredder guitars I do have. I don't play it a whole lot, but there was a period of time where I was really vibing with it, and I think it sounds amazing, to be honest. But so every guitar I have has its own kind of place in my heart or whatever. This is not a stock Ibanez. It's an Ibanez, but it's actually totally custom because I was in a band a long time ago called Benevolence, and the drummer and I at the time were trying to create me a custom guitar. And at that moment, we ordered the body and the neck off of eBay, totally different guitars combined, and then the pickups were hand chosen. These are EMGs, Fat 50s, something or others. Floyd Rose, although I will admit I'm not much of a bar trick guy, that's something I want to kind of learn how to do. It's got, like, everything's custom, the tuners, even the green, the logo. We ordered that as a sticker, I think. The Sasquatch sticker on the guitar. So, but this guitar is really nice. It has a very chimey guitar sound. And about this guitar, it's a little different from the other guitars I have. But it's a nice guitar, 24 frets, and it is definitely up there as a Super Shredder. It's definitely very similar to like a Jackson Dinky, and it's definitely in that ballpark. Even similar to my LTD that got stolen from me. Similar vibe, but more high-end because it's got the locking tuners and the Floyd and the nicer pickups. But yeah, and it's bolt-on. As you can see, it's got a bolt-on neck, and but it's totally it's a custom. There's not a duplicate of it. It's totally its own thing.
Really, really nice. Can we hear it?
Oh yeah. Give it a nice clean sound. Put it on a piezo type sound. She's pretty mean sounding, I'd say. But she can also do a lot of soaring kind of singing type sounds.
Sounds really great, and the pickups sounds more. You feel the punch when you are playing, like than the Epiphone.
The Epiphone's got a more lighter touch, I guess. It's not aggressive, it's more warm. So it's better for like really classic metal. This guitar is more in your face, kind of. I don't know how to explain it, but like it's that punch thing you said. It's very.
It's
It's
aggressive.
It's very aggressive. If you want to play death metal, this is guitar for you. And it's in E standard. Everything's in E standard, and it still sounds just punchy, 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 punchy. It's just got a big like.
Nice. Well, Charles, do you remember when you was learning the guitar? What kind of riff or maybe a lick? Uh, do you remember that lick or that riff? You get better on the guitar and you feel, oh, I'm doing better. My playlist.
So like, what's a riff that was hard to learn and I kind of mastered it?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And some
It's a good question. Because I would say it's when I started trying to learn how to do neoclassical leads. I was trying to learn one of Yngwie's runs, and I was like, holy crap, I'm never going to play that. But I can play it now. But when I was 15 to 16 years old, I was like, I can't do that. But I said, no, but you will do that. And I just forced myself daily to work on chops and speed and scales. And I said, you will get this down. You will learn this. You will not be defeated.
can you talk a little bit about your pedal board right now?
Oh, yeah. This is a Helix floor unit. It does everything, literally everything. It's got my amp models, my effects, my cab sims, my EQs. It's my weapon of choice, and it pairs really nicely with my Laney amplifier. So the Helix, I've been using it since 2022, and I love this thing, honestly. It's just absolutely amazing. It's so close to a real amp that your average listener can't really tell. And it imitates my favorite amps really well. And I feel inspired when I plug into this thing. Like, I love this thing. This is pretty much my end-all, be-all. So it's my amp modeler, it's my FX modeler, it's my pedal board, it's my everything. I can, if I can't take my Laney one night, I can still plug in straight to a board and it sounds great. But I do like having that to push the air because I like having the best of both worlds. But yeah, this is my everything. And the tone I'm using right now, which is my main sound, is based on a Marshall Super Lead Plexi boosted with 1 one of the tube screamers inside of the pedal, and blending it with a dual cab sim, a Marshall 1960 and a Mesa cab blended, and that's my sound. And then I got chorus and delays and some different EQ settings for solos, and I have an octave setting. I don't use it a whole lot, but I got this for just kind of trying to play some of my melodies live. Don't particularly use it a whole lot, but it's kind of there if I want it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what else you want to know about the pedal board?
Yeah, sounds great. Well, because right now the technology give it to us the easy way to get a lot sound for different kind of sound, and the modeling amps and the FX, and right now it's really nice, and like you said, sounds like real amps, but not exactly, yeah, but
No.
maybe 10 years or 20 years ago it sounds so digital, and a lot of people uh, doesn't like the pedal boards right now
Yeah.
and keep the analog pedals and have a pedal board like this side.
And that's almost ridiculous these days because it's just that's too much to lug around. Most of your sound guys don't want to put up with somebody trying to hook up all that stuff, and I mean that's cool. I'm not dogging on it, but yeah, 10, 20 years ago I get it, but technology, like you were saying, it's gotten so much better that it's all you don't really need all that unless you absolutely just have to have it for the sake of having it. Because to me, that sounds like a real amp to me. I mean, it's warm, it growls, it grabs your attention. It's even touch dynamic. I've also got a noise gate, but if I turned off the noise gate, it's even more dynamic. This is without any kind of gate. You play soft, it's soft. You play hard, it's hard. That's why it feels analog, because like old school digital stuff was so sterile. But this, if you play it soft, it comes out soft. Or if you roll the volume back. Okay, now I've got no gates running, so it's just straight amp model. That's what a tube amp does. It's dynamic to the touch of the guitar and the pick and the player, and this thing can do that really well. 20 years ago, you might not have gotten a modeler that does that very well. They were so sterile back then, but no, if you especially on this Marshall preset, if you play soft, it's soft. If you play hard, it's hard, which is like a real Marshall. That's why I love this thing. I've used a lot of gear, like we said earlier, and technology's come such a long way. Like that's home for me. I love Line 6, and I wouldn't mind being endorsed by them someday.
Nice. And how you edit your pedal? Yeah, are you using the pedal, or you prefer to edit on the PC?
Oh, it's all on the pedal. It's all getting dirty and getting down on the floor and turning the knobs. A buddy of mine also helped me build my preset a little bit, and I've just done some tweaks on it. No, it's just going in the menu, and I know y'all can't see it on the camera, but there's a big old screen right there and big old signal chain from wah to noise gate to overdrive pedal to a compressor to the amp to some EQs. It's got the reverb, it's got the delay, it's got the octave effect whenever I decide to use it. It's got the clean amp, which is on channel 3. It's got another reverb for the clean amp only, the chorus, another delay for the clean amp, another EQ, and it's got the cabinet, the speaker cabinet at the very end of the circuit. So just turning the knobs and scrolling through the menu, old school, you know. Yeah, you can make presets in the computer, and that's cool and all, but it's kind of cool to just get your hands dirty.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Okay, we can see another guitar.
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, Charles. That guitar is amazing. What kind of guitar is that?
Well, it says it's a Fender, but it's actually the neck is a Fender, but the body's actually not. It's a bootleg that my dad got me for my birthday one year. But I've had some work done on this, and the guy working on the guitar said that the neck is actually a legit Fender, but the body isn't. I'm guessing this is probably like something that didn't pass QC, and the body is totally, I don't know where the body comes from. But with that being said, this guitar has been modded like crazy over the last decade, so it's more custom to me now. But for sake of argument, it is a fat Strat, says Fender, quote unquote, and it's very modded. We got locking tuners on here, a new pick guard. This used to be This used to be an HSS guitar. It used to have 2 single coils, and I had it modified and that totally rerouted for just 2 humbuckers, so more holes were drilled in, and then we put this on, and you can't even tell. So it's totally, I guess you can call it a Charles Benson custom. It's a fat Strat, but it's souped up more like a Charvel, to be honest. It's got, a Duncan 59 pickup, DiMarzio Evolution in the neck, 3-way selector switch, not your typical Fender 5-way selector switch, and of course the blonde neck and the maple fretboard. So it's a nice guitar. It's definitely different from your typical Strat. It looks like a Strat, but in my humble opinion, it kind of sounds and plays more like a Gibson.
Yeah, it looks aggressive. Like looks so different, like another Strat. Yeah, and that's good. Can we listen a little bit?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Nice. Wow. Sounds great. Sounds like 80s metal.
Definitely.
Uh-huh. Really, really nice. Okay, what advice do you have for the new guitar players right now?
I'd say find your own voice. Don't try to be like everybody else. And also work on your techniques. Don't make the mistakes of your forefathers. Although organic playing is cool, but like what I mean by that is if you're gonna play guitar, my advice is go all the way. Don't treat it like it's just kind of there. If you're gonna play guitar, understand to really master the gift, you have to make sacrifices. You might not be as social. You might not be hanging out places as much. Don't get involved, especially kids. Sorry, parents. If you want your kid to be a guitar player, don't sign them up for every extracurricular activity in school. Instead, that extracurricular activity is your kid comes home, they do their homework, they eat their dinner, they play guitar. If they want to be good on guitar, my advice to the new guitarist is really take your craft seriously, but find your own voice. Don't. It's not a competition. Don't worry who you sound like. Just be you. Play what comes out naturally, and just find your groove. And take your art seriously. If you're gonna do it all the way.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much for that kind of advice. It's. I hope the podcast uh, get some inspiration for the different guitarists and take the guitar for passion and how you said get their own voice, and that's cool. That's cool. Thank you so much for about that. Um, well, Charles, I want to know what album on your life changed your life. You listen and you said, "Oh, that album makes me crazy."
Wow, I'd have to rewind back to my teenage years because I like a lot of albums since then. Gosh, I would. It's hard to. Well, there's a couple of albums I could name, but really, we sold our soul for rock and roll. The Black Sabbath compilation album, because that's when I started listening to music, and Sabbath just really spoke to me. And just that album was just a conglomeration of their first 5 or 6 records, and I was hooked on them ever since. And that just like Black Sabbath is really what helped me learn how to structure songs and to figure out that guitar solos are in the key that you're playing in. I learned all that from just listening to Tony. And I guess another album that really still touches me to this day, really it's a few of them. So I don't know if I can give one answer. Heaven and Hell from Black Sabbath. Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz and possibly Diary of a Madman, Ultimate Sin, Bark at the Moon, and Black Sabbath's Paranoid, Master of Reality, and Black Sabbath self-titled. So it's not one answer. These are the albums that kind of shaped me back in the day, or the albums that I still hold dear today, even though I listen to a lot of different bands now. But if we go back to my roots, the albums that really just kind of stay with me, like I said, Black Sabbath self-titled, Paranoid, Master of Reality, then Heaven and Hell, Ozzy's first 4 solo records, to this day just still have a special imprint. And then maybe later years we could say Number of the Beast from Iron Maiden and Savage's Hall of the Mountain King and Gutter Ballet. But like I said, the list of albums that really just do that like changed me, gosh, there's so many of them because they all play a different role.
Thank you, Charles, for tell us about your taste about the music. Okay, if the money is not a problem for you, what kind of guitar you will buy?
Gosh, well, one of them I've already bought, but I don't have it on me at the moment, it's that Gibson SG Standard, but actually, I want a Gibson Les Paul, not the Epiphone, even though Epiphone's good. I want a real high-end Gibson Les Paul, and maybe a high-end Stratocaster, a high-end Telecaster, maybe the dual humbucker ones, Flying V's, Explorers. So I don't know. Like I don't have crazy taste in guitars. Although I will admit, one John Petrucci Majesty would be cool.
Oh wow, yeah, that's amazing.
That's something I don't have a whole lot of money for. I've been able to kind of sort of put on payment plans the Gibsons and the Epiphones, but like something that would be bucket list. I definitely want to own a John Petrucci Music Man Majesty. Just to say, hey, I got a Majesty.
Nice, nice. Okay, we have another one.
This one doesn't get played very often. This is like a backup of the backup of the backups. But it has a special place in my heart. My dad did the paint job because I wanted a blue guitar. But I wanted midnight blue, but with what he had to paint it, that didn't work out. So it's kind of grungy looking. I appreciate the guitar for its sentiments. It actually plays really good. It's not my favorite in my collection, but it still has its own kind of story. It's a Samick Greg Bennett TR1, but it's basically kind of a wannabe SG, as you can tell. It used to be like a glossy black like the SG next to you. But every guitar ever is black. So at the time, which was 2016, I said, Dad, let's paint this thing like blue. Because this is my Christmas present of 2016 or 2017. No, 2017, I think. No, 2016. So he's like, okay. He wanted to paint. I wanted him to paint it blue, and he wanted to accept the challenge. But I was expecting a midnight blue, and it was somehow with either the paint he used or something got lost in translation, so it came out to this kind of blue. It's not very glossy, as you can tell. It looks kind of rough, but it's still kind of cool. I call it the. Well, I don't want to say anything offensive, but it's like the redheaded stepchild of my guitars. It's kind of forgotten about. It doesn't get enough attention. But it does play really well. It's kind of... I would compare it quality-wise to like a lower line Epiphone. Or maybe like a Gibson Studio. It's not bad. It's just definitely different. It's not my Les Paul. I love that thing. It's not on me right now, but she's still a nice guitar, and she's got 2 Seymour Duncan pickups. Just like the Gibsons and the Epiphones, the 4 switch, the 2 volumes, 2 tones. So yeah.
You don't use split colors in any...
I used to have a guitar that did have that, but no, I don't have any split coils. I wouldn't mind having one like that because I do like to have the single coil lead sound. I like that because it's very neoclassical, like Yngwie or whatever, or it's good for blues too. But yeah.
Nice. No, keep going.
But yeah. I don't know what else to say about this guitar.
That's okay, but just play it and she can tell us who is her. Nice. What number of strings do you use?
I prefer 9s, but this has 10s. So they're fighting me a little bit because this guitar was tuned differently a while back. I did a show with it last year for a band that used to be in it, and we were in drop C. I haven't switched the strings yet, but 9 to 42 honestly is perfect. And on the red guitar I showed y'all earlier, because it's got a longer scale length, it's 38 to 8. So I like lights for shredding and just playability and note clarity and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I really like the sound of that guitar. It sounds like 90s,
Yeah,
some kind of 90s.
it could be the Duncan JBs maybe, giving it kind of that more grungier 90s sound. Yeah, I mean, she sounds and plays really good. She's just not very pretty.
That's really really nice guitar. It's amazing. Yeah, and I really like this podcast because you have different kind of guitars, and when you was playing, uh, you get some sound, different sounds for the guitars. You feel different when you play. Okay, I have the Epiphone right now, and you start to play, and looks you show your versatility,
Yeah,
Versatility.
versatility,
that's
yeah,
right.
and that's really really nice, and uh, was amazing. Your sound and your playability, it's really really nice. I'm excited about.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. Okay. Before the end, how the people can contact you? You have some Instagram. Maybe some people will like to get classes with you.
Oh, okay, yeah. On Facebook, it's Chucky B, ChuckiEbeeh. On Instagram, I think it's Charles Greg. Let me look it up,
Sure.
and then I'll give y'all.
We'll put it in the description of the
Cool.
Instagram, yeah.
The screen.
Okay, cool. Instagram is Charles Graybeard. The band's Instagram is Benson Metal 777. I know I need to get all the names like synced. It just didn't work out that way. The band's Facebook is Charles Benson Solo Band, and yeah, they can reach me on any of those platforms. And yeah,
Nice, Charles. Thank you so much for being here to give us your time to share your amazing guitars with us.
no
It
problem.
was amazing. You are so kind. You are so funny. I love your story. That's really really cool time.
Appreciate that, man.
I hope you enjoy this podcast, and I really appreciate that opportunity to meet you. And I want to say thank you for Ronnie. He contacted us, and that's really really cool.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's a great. We love jamming with him, and he's probably going to be our official rhythm player. We're kind of working on that right now, but
Exclusive, huh?
we're
Exclusive.
well. I can't make any official things. Ronnie's thinking some things over.
Okay.
He's a busy guy with his job, and he's got his other band, but at the same time, the door is definitely open for him to join us full time. And we'll work around his schedule best we can, because we're all adults here. We got a lot of things going on, so I think everything's cool. We've been using rotating rhythm players at the moment because we had a guy that quit a while back, and yeah, it does. But Ronnie's great, and we want to kind of work him back in the fold, and so yeah,
He's a solid dude.
yeah,
He's somebody who will come through when he says he will.
Yeah.
He does.
and we got a single coming out soon. It's going to be called "The Flower." It's written to a friend of mine. She really likes that song, but we're still working on it. It's got to get some final EQs and mixing and mastering. But the Benson project, or Benson, will be releasing a single soon.
I hope so, and I will love to enjoy your music, and that's really cool time. Okay, thank you, Charles, again for your time, and thank you guys for being here with us. Just comment and subscribe. These are Guitar Memories, and see you on the next episode with another amazing guitarist. Bye.